Welcome to No Player Connected. Today I'm sitting in a safe house in Left 4 Dead 2 with our guest, who upon first meeting me, held me at gunpoint and forced me to follow his Twitch channel. He is a game developer and dodecahedron... Is it dodecahedron?
Dodecahedron, correct.
Yeah, dodecahedron propagandist. AxeyMcAxeStuff.
Hello.
Or can I call you Jason, or do I have to use your superhero name?
I don't have the cape on right now, so Jason is okay, but you can just say Axey too, if you like.
How are you holding up after the grim task that we just did?
Oh my god, that was quite a thing. It was abysmal. We are just... My hands are covered in blood right now.
I would say mine are too, but Coach is just kind of reaching out for a pitchfork in front of him, and he looks pretty spotless. We had to brutally murder the NPCs in the safe house with us to make sure they didn't do anything too wacky. So
They need to be silenced.
Yeah, just about 2 minutes of them screaming on the floor as we shotgun them. Pretty good. Now that we've set the tone.
The world of Left 4 Dead 2.
Yeah. Axey, can you tell us about this lovely game that we're in?
This game is released by Valve Studios in, I think it was 2009, and it is I'm going to call it a 4-player cooperative zombie shooter thing, FPS game. There's also the 8-player versus mode, which is fantastic, where 4 people play the survivors and 4 other people play the special infected that are coming after the survivors and trying to stop them. And the survivors are getting as far as they can. And there's also the survival mode, which nobody thinks about.
I've completely forgotten about the survival mode.
Yeah, it's barely there.
But I mean, so what are you doing in your typical game of Left 4 Dead? Like, what is the goal?
So there's, what is it, 5 different? Or is it 5 different initial campaigns, and then there were a bunch added on later?
I thought it was only 4. Was it really 5?
Might have been 4. Oh, you know what? Left 4 Dead 1 was 4, I think. And then
Yes.
Left 4 Dead 2 they're in 5, I think. Pretty sure. We're good at numbers here.
Yeah.
So you are starting off with your survivors, and it kind of tells a little story if you go in the order of the campaigns. So the survivors meet each other, they're just getting to know each other. It's kind of cool because they don't have names for the special infected right away. Like, they have these awkward things, and then they just start calling them by their names by, like, the second campaign. But you are surviving with your friends, you're running through, you're shooting zombies everywhere, you're collecting new weapons and supplies, and then eventually you get to the finale. So it's the last level of the campaign, and there's like a big to-do finale thing where multiple hordes show up, a bunch of the special affected tanks show up and try to like completely destroy your day. And then like the rescue vehicle usually shows up at the end and whisks you away to the next campaign.
Yeah. As a kid, when I was playing the first Left 4 Dead, I was under the impression like, oh, these are all self-contained campaigns and all that shit. And then, yeah, once I started connecting the dots, I was like, oh my god, it's real.
That's the helicopter from the last one.
Yeah, what the hell? Yeah, so
I thought they just had a horde of helicopters.
Yeah. But it's nice because you can play them all as like their own self-contained thing. Like there's obviously the story like you said, but if you just want to hop in and play this and turn your brain off and talk about whatever as you blast zombies, that's like totally fine.
100%. Yeah, you don't really need to know what you're doing. It's a zombie game. You know, your motivations are zombies.
Yeah, kill zombie, move forward, occasionally move backward.
True.
But you mentioned the special infected. What's that all about for the uninitiated?
So the special infected are extra little freaky weirdos that are kind of supposed to disrupt your gameplay. So there's like the normal flow of all of the regular infected are coming towards you. They are sometimes in their dormant state, but then they get into like a horde, crazy rushing mentality mode. But they're pretty run of the mill. But then the special infected have extra attacks. They have more health usually. They'll do things like projectile attacks. They'll go into the middle of your group and blow up and spew vomit all over you, and then your screen is covered in nasty goop, and then all of the zombies are like rushing towards you even harder. So it's all built to like kind of mess with your instincts as a gamer, I think, because, well, actually, especially the one Boomer special infected.
Yes.
because you're always like, I gotta shoot the thing, I gotta kill him. But if he's next to you in your group, you don't want to do that. You want to at most like melee him to stagger him and then like get the hell away, then shoot him from a distance. Otherwise you just like ruined your chances of survival.
Yeah, I would say the special infected kind of, you mentioned like your sensibilities as like a gamer. I almost view it as like following horror movie tropes where like a lot of times they try to separate you, or like, oh, I can't see anymore because there's puke in my eyes, and like yeah, you get all split up and you're more vulnerable when they attack. Yeah, they're great. I mean, the run-of-the-mill quote-unquote zombie that you mentioned, I think it's just people with rabies basically sprinting around and wailing on the players.
Yeah, pretty much. They're sort of like the rage zombies from, like, I guess, like 28 Days Later.
Yes, yeah, and it's so fucked up because you can see, like, they've got broken teeth from, like, beating the shit out of each other sometimes. They look really gnarly if you're able to get a good look at them.
Yeah, and they do cool stuff like that. Like, they have little infighting moments when they're not, like, triggered and trying to kill you.
Yeah. I played mostly Left 4 Dead 1. I played a fair amount of Left 4 Dead 2, but yeah, you can see them just like beating each other up outside. Or they'll be in like a stupor, like just sitting in a corner, kind of like groaning. And so I think they've done a really good job characterizing the regular infected and making them really stand out as part of the setting. And then the special infected really pop as a result because they're so different.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Oh yeah, actually, one thing that they did with the special infected is they tried to make them very design-wise, like they have a cool silhouette usually, and their colors and stuff stand out. And they also have sound triggers, like you can hear, and it's not just the sounds that the zombie themselves make. There's like a little musical tone or something that'll play when one of them shows up, like a little piano thing. Some of them are like higher pitched, some are lower pitched, stuff like that. It's very cool. I love that they did that.
And that's something they do effectively with like all parts of this game. There's musical cues for any event that's happening. But yeah, it especially stands out with the special infected because they all have their little cues, and that'll like put me on edge too, because somewhere in the shadows, there's some little freak with a really long tongue that's going to snatch you up, or the boomer just spawned and he's going to puke on you from, like, a rooftop. And so, I totally forgot about the musical cues. I'm really glad you reminded me of that. And then, of course, the tank. Like,
oh, God. He has such foreboding music.
Yeah, and while the other ones, like, you hear the little doom, 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 like, it's a little one-time thing, and then you're left wondering where that enemy is. The tank just... Does it play, like, the whole time?
It does, yeah. He has his whole own, like, orchestra, we're gonna say.
The tank is one of the... I want to say one of the scariest enemies I fought in a video game. Just the combination of like the appearance and like the actual gameplay surrounding it. Like, it's one of the few I would say that are intimidating mechanically, because there's some video games where an enemy is scary looking, but you're like, I'm just gonna shoot you now. And
you're like, whatever, we'll just stand our ground and he'll go down like a chump.
Yeah, and you can still do that with tanks in this game, especially if you're in versus mode and there's a player that doesn't know what they're doing controlling the tank. But in this, like, a tank can punch a car, send it flying in the air, and just flatten half your team.
That is my favorite way to play the tank. Absolutely my favorite. That's my go-to. If there's a car, I'm looking for it.
Yeah, it's just got such a perfect combination of music. It's got that silhouette, like you mentioned, like the appearance is just this huge hulking thing where I'd say like 70% of its body mass is in its arms and shoulders.
Oh, and your screen starts to rumble a little bit when he's close.
Yeah.
You're like, he's right behind me, isn't he?
And okay, I'm gonna share this on the podcast. I don't know if I can't remember if I talked to anybody about this, at least not online, but I had a nightmare like 2 months ago about the tank from Left 4 Dead, where you know how like when he crouches, he moves like incredibly slow.
Yeah.
I had a dream that I was crawling through like some like, I don't know, it's almost like an air duct or something, but a little bit larger, and the tank was just right behind me.
Oh.
Yeah, and it was like, I know I'm a little bit faster than him, but like, holy shit, it's right behind me. So there's some deep primal fear I have of that thing. Like, it's just, Oh god, it rules.
Yeah, Valve definitely hit all of the deep-seated fear little things that exist in people's brains with some of these zombies designs.
Yeah. Do you have any favorites when it comes to the special infected?
I want to say, as far as like playing it, for some reason I really like the spitter, because you can be just a cheeky little shit, just like off screen, and you're waiting for the survivors to get to like this key choke point, and it's all on you, and you're like, oh, I gotta get them, and so you can like zip out, spew your stuff out, and then like just watch the chaos unfold. And usually you're trying to like also hook up some of the other special infected that are on your team to get them to like be able to have that moment of disruption, to get them to run in and do their thing. But I like that then you can like shoot back behind a corner and like recharge your spit and then come back after them again. Like I've like chased survivor teams like throughout the course of a level, just like using the little ladder points that you can climb up and staying on them.
Yeah, the spitter's great if you love annoying people.
Yes.
It's a very annoying little creature that you can scurry around as.
My second favorite is probably Charger. Well, actually,
oh, yes.
So this really depends on what era we're talking about, which is going to sound interesting. I think Charger is probably my favorite as far as like how people learned how to play Left 4 Dead 2, because I like just being able to smash into everybody and send them flying off of buildings. Like if you get the right part, you can send them off those like eternity pits where they're just gone.
Yeah,
like you're not getting them back.
You can have a defibrillator, but you're gonna have to throw it down a 20-story building.
Yeah,
and hope it lands on somebody.
Catch. But during Left 4 Dead 1, so there was this really subtle change that happened in the versus community from Left 4 Dead 1 to 2. In Left 4 Dead 1, when it was out, everybody was learning to do these really high-value hunter pounces.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think the max that you could do for the actual pounce itself was like a 25 damage.
Yep.
And then you could do more after
25.
that when you're like, ripping them to pieces. But I remember everybody was trying to find like these super awesome jump points where you could catch the survivors unawares. You'd fly off like a water tower and you just slam down on one of them for that like 25 points. And that was like the Golden Kingdom or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, and for reference for folks that aren't familiar, the hunter's like a parkour zombie almost, in sweatpants and a hoodie, and he can jump really high and he can wall jump. So that's what we're talking about. That little freak currently.
Good. Yeah, and he's like, rah! He's very pterodactyl-like in his approach and his screaming.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was like the thing. Like we would actually share notes with other people I was meeting on Steam at the time.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
I'm an old gamer. Yes, we would be like, where's the ultimate point in like No Mercy where you can like jump down and slam somebody for 25 health. Now, it seems like, and I think this is because everybody got better at Survivor and everybody got not afraid of things as much because people played it more. It seemed like it stopped being a thing. I guess everybody kind of figured out what those points were, and they kind of learned how to just Terminator through everything. You know, they don't stop. People weren't creeping along. They were just tearing ass through the level. So that changed a little bit. It didn't feel like Left 4 Dead 2 had that same kind of feel with the Hunter on it. But that's why it changed to Charger for me. Long story short.
Yeah. I think that, as the skill ceiling, or I don't know if I'd say skill ceiling, but as the community gets more experience with the game, the like intimidation and scare factor changes. I think this game is pretty heavily skewed in favor of the survivors if they know what they're doing.
It is. They're basically like a team of Terminators that are just raging through.
I'm trying to think of my favorite infected. I would say design-wise, oh shit. I might like I know this is probably a popular answer, but I think the Witch. Just because of, again, like, oh, it's like a horror movie where you get lured in by someone who sounds like they need help, and then it's this lady with gigantic claws that will instantly down you. But to play as... Oh, I'm probably gonna go with the Boomer because it's such a playmaker. Like, you feel so good when you're able to blind everybody and get them swarmed. It's kind of like your thing with the Spitter, where you can kind of harass a team if you're able to stay hidden and get them at choke points. But the added benefit of when they finally shoot you, you explode and turn into just a pair of pants on the ground.
Yes, I actually love it when they don't really know how to deal with you. Like, they know they should melee you, but like one of them does it, but they don't move away far enough, so you just keep bashing into them, and you're like, you're gonna blow me up. I know you're gonna do it.
Yeah, you get like 4 melees, and then the boomer blows.
Yep.
So. Yeah, or like you land in the middle of them, and so it's like a game of hot potato where everyone's just bouncing you off of each other. Oh, shit. So I feel like we've talked more about the infected than the actual, like, survivors.
It is a zombie game.
It is. And I do want to give the characters their due time in the spotlight because they do have a fantastic cast here. It's 4 for each game, unless I'm...
Yep,
forgetting some hidden
four
DLC.
for each game.
Okay, and
we've got. Should I say their names?
Well, in a little bit here. In Left 4 Dead 2, you also have like all of the old maps and campaigns, right?
Yes. Yeah. They pulled all of them over, which was cool.
Yeah. So if you get Left 4 Dead 2, you can see all the survivors. I don't know if I'm going to make you go through all 8 of them, but I was curious who your favorite is, or if you've got favorites. If you can't pick your favorite child.
Sophie's choice. I really like Ellis, and he kind of showcased why just a little bit earlier before we started recording here. I love that Ellis talks about his friend Keith all the time. He has all those stories where he starts up telling his story about his friend Keith and just crazy adventures and things that they've gotten into, but he never gets to finish most of them because like one of the other players is like, Ellis, is this really the time? He's like, okay. So there's all these like, it almost sounds like somebody could write massive amounts of fanfic for Ellis and Keith. Like, just what happened with all of these things that occurred. So I'm always curious.
Yeah, how did Keith get 3rd-degree burns over 70% of his body, or whatever that fucking story is?
And then you wonder, like, how much of it is true? Is he just BSing? You know?
Well, Ellis seems like an honest guy, too. I feel
he
like
does.
that adds to it. Like, why would he wouldn't have the need to blow smoke up your ass about this?
Yeah, I agree. Like, I feel like Nick might make up some stuff, but I don't think Ellis would.
Yeah. I think they do an excellent job characterizing all of the different characters that you play as in this. I mean, across both games. I would say I'm more familiar with the Left 4 Dead 1 crew more than the Left 4 Dead 2 guys. But even Left 4 Dead 2, like, I think Ellis has the strongest personality of the 4 in this game.
I think Valve's always been pretty good at characterization. It seems like whenever they come out with a game, which is never anymore, but when they do, they're
just
pretty
a casual. Just a casual. They never do.
Yeah, they just don't anymore. But when they do, they have some pretty awesome characterization. It seems like they work a lot, and they try to get like really fitting voice actors and stuff like that. I think my second favorite is Bill, just because of the old man, grumpy leadership kind of role. He's fun. He smokes a cigar the entire time while he kills millions of zombies, so he's my second favorite.
Yeah, I struggle to pick a favorite from the original crew, but I always played as Lewis in my friend group.
Nice.
And that was just because he seemed like a rational, like, everyman.
Yeah, he was like the office worker kind of guy.
Yeah, which I guess, like, Zoe's kind of like that, too. She's just an everyday gal trying to get through this. And then, and then fucking, like you said, Bill, the, like, war veteran, grumpy old guy, and Francis is a biker that hates everything. They have, like, such good chemistry where you have really comedic moments, like you mentioned Keith, or just, like, the shit that they say to each other in elevator rides is really believable and goofy. And then you can have really serious moments, like when a character dies, like, they say shit that seems to imply that, you know, they really care about each other. It gets serious for a bit. In an otherwise lighthearted game. I'm looking at the dead bodies of the two people we just killed.
Even when we're the ones that did it, they're still sad that they had to do it for the good of the podcast, you know?
Yeah. We can bring them back. They're just locked away in a closet somewhere. These are just paid actors, body doubles. You mentioned the stuff about Keith, and it got me thinking about some of the other storytelling that they have in this, and I'm staring at it right now. I don't know if you can...
Yes.
What are we looking at?
We are looking at graffiti or scrawlings on the walls of the safe house.
Yeah, and I always love that shit because it adds so much character to the locations that you're in. Like, this goes from being a shitty little dreary safe house to like, oh, this is a place that a lot of people have passed through, and they're either communicating to loved ones that they're expecting to come through, or maybe it's just somebody writing something stupid like, what is it? All zombies fear Chicago Ted or something.
Yes, the Legend of Chicago Ted. But yeah, it does give it a super awesome human element because, yeah, you get some really serious ones, like you said, some nice heartfelt moments. And then you've got, of course, people trolling. Like, some people are actively making fun of the heartfelt comments that someone else made. So it's very, internet forum-y, Reddit, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, what's the one? I think my favorite one was, what is it? There's like a really long, heartfelt thing. I think it's like a woman trying to write to her husband or something like that. And then like the comments below it are just like, this made me like want to get turned into a zombie. Like, this is the worst thing I've ever read in my life. Like, it's so terrible.
Yeah. Or like, too long, didn't read.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, there's those well-written ones, and then you look on here and it's just like, CETA is not coming, CETA sucks. Some people actually write like useful stuff. Like, in this particular safe house, we're on the, the 4th level of Hard Rain.
Yes.
And there's a sugar mill that you're near, and apparently it attracts witches, and people are putting on the walls like, this place is crawling with witches. Oh, cool. Like, that's helpful. And then in another campaign, someone will write something like, they don't come out in the sunlight, and then someone else will say, that's vampires. And so I love that this game overall is a mixture of immersive, heartfelt, sincere stuff, and then like cinematic, like goofy, hammed up nonsense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it makes it feel like, this is exactly what people would do. There'd be all kinds of misinformation, conspiracy theory stuff. Like, do this, don't do that. Like, it's almost like it's very reminiscent of something that happened to society lately, but we won't go into that.
Yeah, well, not to get political.
No.
Yeah. Although, in this, do they eventually find that the government's killing non-infected people? I can't remember. It's been a while.
I think they suspect it, but it's never proven. And it kind of seems like, at the end, they rescue them. So I think isn't that how the parish ends? It's like the final campaign.
Yeah, and I guess a part of that is that the people that you're playing as are immune, and so I suppose the government would take special interest in people that aren't catching super rabies. Because I think the disease is like, it's either airborne or waterborne. Like, it spreads pretty fast.
Oh, I'm actually forgetting if they've revealed that or not. They probably did. I forget my lore.
Yeah, it's something very easy to spread because, like, people change rapidly.
Yeah. I think it only took, like, 2 weeks, maybe, in the game or something like that, in Left 4 Dead 1. I think it took 2 weeks, and, like, most of the stuff, most everybody was infected.
Yeah, and if we're wrong, I'll edit this out.
Yes.
If we're really wrong, I'll leave it in, and it'll be really funny. I think I got hints of this earlier on, but do you prefer to play this just with your homies and it's just the 4 of you, or do you like to have some other humans controlling the infected and play versus mode?
Oh, I love versus mode. Versus mode is absolutely my jam. I actually made a lot of friends back in like 2008, 2009, like a lot of Steam friends, because I was in a couple different communities where they would just like connect up with other players. And then if we had a good match or whatever, had some camaraderie, we would just add each other on Steam. Because I don't think anybody had like a huge Steam friend list back in that day, so we were sort of adding to it. But yeah, I super love the idea of the special infected are going to be a little trickier to deal with than the just kind of the dumb. I'm not gonna say they're dumb when they're AI controlled, but they do a little more straightforward stuff that you would expect. Like they won't harass you for half the map, like I mentioned. So I love doing the versus matches. I have a lot of fun, especially when it's like 8 players and you're all in the same room, because I've done that. I used to do a lot of LAN party stuff. So you get to all scream at each other and high five each other when you get like the ultimate tank car punch. Yeah, God, versus mode is so fun. I can't stress that enough. Like, even today, playing versus mode in this game is still probably one of the most fun things you can do in video games. I'm gonna make that hardline stance.
It's just a matter of you need to have comparable like skill levels, I would say, among your players, because we did that last year, and I'd say we had mixed results. We had mixed results.
Yes.
If the teams were not balanced carefully, some people were getting run over. But yeah, in that heyday, back in 2008, 2009, I was big into Left 4 Dead 1, but I was playing on the Xbox, and I would just play it like non-stop versus with my friends. And it was, not to toot my own horn or anything, when I was a little child, I was pretty damn good at this game. But yeah, you could get some intense rivalries too. Like, the lovely thing about Versus is that you go through as the humans, and then the other team goes... I'm saying humans like I'm a zombie, man. I'm not. I'm very human. I'm very human. I myself am human. But you go through as the survivors, and the enemy team is the zombies, and then you switch. So you kind of like... You're like, I can do that better than them. Like, I can do that. Mm-hmm. And you get to put your money where your mouth is and see who's better at either side of the game. And yeah, it's just such a good intersection of good, dumb fun. Because at the end of the day, you're playing as some mutated zombie freak attacking people. And like some competitiveness in there.
Yeah, I love it so much. And it's making me want to play it right now.
Resist!
Yeah, it was just a really good way to just build camaraderie, I think. And it was cool sharing strategies in those early days. Like I was saying, like the best places for the 100 pounds is... But there was other things like the best place to hide in a window to be a smoker and like pull somebody out of a window. That kind of... Oh, and like if you see a witch actually as a smoker, you can try to nab them, pull towards the witch, and then the other teammates are basically left with the choice of like, well, we got to save them, but we're probably going to trigger the witch in the process. Like, what do we do about that? But they can't talk about it. You have to like do it or don't do it.
Yeah, there's a lot of like, you got to have your buddies' backs or it's going to spiral out of control pretty quickly. Yeah, mm-hmm. I love, there's so much play and counterplay. Like you said, grab somebody to pull them towards the witch. But at the same time, if they're all together, they can just melee and break the tongue right away. I don't know. It's a fantastic multiplayer experience. I highly suggest, if you don't have Left 4 Dead 2 already, people listening, get out from whatever rock you're living under, buy it. It's like $2 or something. I don't actually know if it's $2, but it's pretty damn cheap.
Yeah, it came out in 2009. Come on, people. Let's get it together.
As a society... We should all have Left 4 Dead 2 installed on our machines. God, but yeah, that discussion of like the different strategies. Like I remember people showing like, oh yeah, here's how to like skip this part of the map or like this really shitty spot. Like you wanna do this to minimize risk. I don't know if this was going on with the Steam version of the game, but do you remember in No Mercy when you could while the survivors were going up the big elevator, you could move like a generator or a forklift or some shit in the
doorway of the elevator? Oh yeah, I feel like I saw you try to do that last year when we played.
No.
Pretty sure.
Well, I was gonna say only scoundrels do that, and it ruins the game because then the survivors literally can't get out. But yeah, I may have tried it. But yeah, there's all these little weird quirks you would do where like, oh bro, if you make this jump, you can avoid this thing, and then someone goes for the jump and then their character's hanging off a ledge. God,
which is the worst moment, because then you're like, oh, if there's any special infected up right now, we're screwed.
Yeah. It's such a, like, if you make the slightest error, it can snowball out of control for either side. And I like that. I think that's cool.
Yeah, and I think there's behind the scenes stuff that isn't like super apparent in the game. Like when you're playing the survivors, it helps to know like the spawn times for the special infected. Because sometimes you can be like, okay, we just killed 4 of them, so we have like a 30-second breathing room.
Yeah.
But then if you've killed them in sort of a staggered way, you're going to keep getting kind of like a succession of them that are coming at you at a steady pace, which may actually be worse for you. So sometimes it can be good to be like, okay, let's try to take them all out in one shot and then just run for as long as we can.
I would be on the opposite side of that, where I'm fine with staggered special infected, because once you have a good team of survivors, like, oh, it's a hunter. All right, everybody shoot him. Okay, he's gone. It's when they all coordinate at the same time that I think it gets hellish. But it all depends on the situation, too, because as you take damage and your survivors start to slow down, then it can be a massive pain in the ass to get set back by a smoker or something. So I guess I see either side there.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. I agree that there's definitely cases for both to be made there.
Do you have any specific like game design decisions in regards to either Left 4 Dead installment that you want to gush over?
So this is not a new or unique thing that anybody said about the game, but I still think it's worth noting. They did use lighting to map the way for the survivors to the next waypoint. So I don't think there's any point in the game where there's just like, go here right now sort of things.
They'll eventually hit, like if you're completely oblivious, it'll say like, start the lift and highlight it.
That's true.
You have to be pretty like unfamiliar with the game to not notice where you're supposed to go.
Or just probably like video games in general, like maybe you haven't played a lot of them, so you're just like, oh, the thing highlights, but I didn't see that,
Yeah.
But yeah, because they use awesome lighting to kind of direct your way. So you're going through these fairly complicated cityscapes and forests and stuff like that. But you can still see something in the distance that you're supposed to go for. And when you're getting off to the side that's super dark, you're like, probably not supposed to be here. So yeah, I love that they did that. And we talked about sound before. They use the little really subtle sound cues to highlight the special effect that's showing up. And I think it's really cool that you mentioned that you had forgotten about it, because it doesn't actually matter that the player remembers it or not. I think it's just there in the background. I think you probably subconsciously notice it. Even if you're...
absolutely. I just meant, like, I haven't played in a while, so it wasn't at the forefront of my mind, but as soon as you hear it, you know what that means.
And I actually really like the sound of when a horde activates, like when one of those rage moments happens, you hear them from far away. Like you hear the sound of like 100 voices clamoring from like 100 yards away, and it sounds just really foreboding. You're like, oh no.
Yeah, there's no mistaking what's coming next. I think there's two parts to that. There's the built-in cinematic like roar that you mentioned, and then there's the actual like the zombies in game. You can hear them scrambling towards you, their footsteps, they're beating down doors, and they're getting closer and closer. I think I almost like that more, because you start to wonder, like, oh fuck, like, which door are they coming through? Are they coming up through, like, the stairs? Are they jumping through a window? And you can hear, like, whatever place you're hiding in get torn apart as they make their way to you.
Yeah, it's like that classic thing about horror movies and stuff. Like, the scariest part is the build-up. You're like, something's coming, but where is it? Yeah. Because then when it happens, it's like sort of a release of the tension, and then you deal with it. But the super awesome part is when you're just like,
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I mostly played on like advanced difficulty. I was not a big expert guy.
Oh, that's fine. I think advanced is the fun spot. Expert is for bragging rights.
Yeah. Expert is where well, guys, okay, that was fun. Let's go back down to advanced. But I imagine if you're playing expert, and again, for those that don't know, like, you have a health bar in this game, and as you tick up the difficulty, the zombies kick the shit out of you a little bit harder. And I think in expert, you get hit for 10 damage, and you have 100 health. You get hit for 10 damage from the front, and I think you take even more if you get hit in the back.
I think that's right. Yeah, it's like 10 or 20, maybe.
Yeah, and so with that horde coming, if you're playing on higher difficulties, like, they can represent a significant problem if you're not coordinated and you don't have your like different choke points locked down. And God forbid there's only like 3 or 2 of you left, and you can't have everything covered.
Well, what about the other danger about the expert level? Friendly fire.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No, seriously, that's a huge concern in expert mode.
Yeah, well, I mean, we were confused initially because we were shooting our lovely AI companions, and they weren't taking any damage, and oops, I left it on easy mode, so we had to turn it to normal and gun them down. But yeah, expert, do you just deal full damage to your teammates?
So yeah, I'm pretty sure in expert mode, I think like 4 or 5 good blasts from the shotgun will just bring down an ally. Like, it's brutal. So if anybody's getting in front of anyone or just out of position, like, you're almost worse off doing that than you are getting hit by the horde. Yeah,
I would even say if it's full damage, it might even just be like 2 or 3 shots. Because
Yeah.
some of the shotguns in these games are fucking nasty.
They're brutal. Yeah, you had a lot better time killing your ally over there than I did when I was trying to use the AK.
Yeah, yeah.
He knew the killing tool.
I've had to do this before. Well, like you play this game and you don't play it without running into like your share of either like griefers, and thankfully I've played.
We could talk about the dark side of online play.
Yeah, the fucked up, sick, twisted individuals. But no, I was just gonna say I've played against teams where either someone gets pissed off at another person because of friendly fire, and then suddenly, like, the zombies don't have to do anything. The survivor team's just ripping each other apart. Or, and this part really sucked for me back in the Left 4 Dead 1 days, you get teams that didn't want to play survivor, and they would just kill each other in the safe house.
Oh, that was so dumb. Like,
Yeah.
why would you play versus mode? Like, don't bother. Just stop. Go play something else. That's
Yeah.
silly.
Do your homework.
Yeah. Read a
I
book.
assume it was children that were just like, oh, fun zombie time.
Probably. I mean, should Valve have ever released a choice to have a mode where it's like zombies only, nothing else? I don't know.
No.
I feel like no. Yeah, I feel like
'em.
no. People need to mature.
If you were one of those people that only wanted to play zombies, you need to grow up, start filling out job applications, sit up straight, drink some water.
Put money into your 401k.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, also, you stole my game design thing that I wanted to... That was mine, the lighting. The lighting.
No, sorry.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine.
You can edit this down. I could be removed from it completely.
Yeah, I'll rearrange your words so that you just say, I didn't know about the lighting. No, the lighting in Left 4 Dead was the first... I think that was like when I gained game design consciousness as a kid.
Came
where I was
online.
I was like, whoa, human beings set this up for an experience I'm supposed to have. If I just go towards the light every time, I know where to go in this level. And so I think it's a very simple yet effective tool. And I think it's something that game designers should... me, having never designed a game, I always think it's something that people should look at. Because it's so, like... I don't know, I think it's seamless. Like, you just subconsciously are like, oh, light, good, go towards that.
Yeah, light
I'm
good, darkness
progressing.
bad.
Yeah, I'm having fun. I didn't need, like, a little sidekick to tell me where to go.
It's one of those understated things, too. Like, it's almost like thankless because, people get credit for designing, like, super intricate combat systems. But if they do something very more subtle like that the brain is just happy with but doesn't acknowledge, it's not quite the same thing. But it's just as important, if not more so, in a way.
Yeah, as someone who gets lost in video games easily and will waste time circling back constantly, the simple guidance system in this game, it's gorgeous, it's beautiful, I love it. I hope every video game adopts this system. I think Virtual
Forever.
Monopoly, yeah, just...
Tabletop Simulator, yeah.
Crusader Kings 3, like, I need to be able to know where to go based on the lighting.
Minesweeper, please help me.
Yeah, where is it? Where's the fucking light? Yeah, so I also wanted to gush about the lighting. It rules.
Oh, what else did I have about design? I swear I had another comment to make. Oh, I do. I remembered it.
You remember?
I remember. So, the zombies die, like, contextually, based on what they're doing and where you shoot them. And I feel like this is really subtle, too, and you don't really notice it right away. So when the horde's rushing towards you, they die contextually. Like, you shoot them, and they fall forward with the same velocity that they had when they were running towards you, which I think is super cool, because I think a lot of FPS games, maybe not as much now, but a lot of them, they kind of statically die. Like, you'll shoot the thing, and then it'll stop in place and just do its death animation and be like, ugh, but it's like fixed in that position. Well, the zombies in here, like, you shoot off a leg, they fall over. You shoot them as they're running towards you, they fall forward. There's a lot of cool stuff like that in here that I love that really subtle design choice too. I think it's cool. It makes it feel like you're really fighting like a horde that's rushing you.
Yeah, those little details really immerse you in it. If you shoot them in like the chest or the stomach, they'll stumble forward and like hold their stomach before they collapse. You can blow their heads off. Like it's really nice. I remember that being a comparison with Back for Blood when it was coming out, how the combat versus the hordes in that compared with Left 4 Dead. I don't know if you saw those side-by-side comparisons.
I did, actually, yeah, because... Well, and plus I played a little Back 4 Blood, and yeah, they just very statically die. You shoot them, and it's just they stop in place, and then they do their death animation, like, bleh, and they fall over.
It's a noise I make when I'm shot and dying. Speaking of Back 4 Blood, do you think that there's anything that has really filled the void or has been a proper successor to Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2? I know Back 4 Blood was supposed to be like the spiritual successor to it, and I've seen mixed views on that. I wanted your opinion, and it doesn't necessarily need to be on Back 4 Blood. If you think another game has filled that role, I'd be interested to hear it.
I don't think that Back 4 Blood filled that position, and I won't spend the whole podcast dumping on it. But in a way, I kind of think that this might be a dark horse vote here. I feel like Vermintide 2 was sort of the best successor we've gotten so far.
Interesting. That is a dark horse candidate. 'Cause I didn't play it, but like, wasn't Evolution, was that, or was it called Evolve?
Evolve.
Evolve. Wasn't that supposed to be another like similar thing, or was that 4v1?
So I feel it was 4v1. It was by Turtle Rock, which is cool. So that ties into the whole Left 4 Dead thing. But yeah, Evolve was 4v1. You had your 4 hunter characters, and then you had your big monster. So it was almost like you're constantly playing a tank, but even bigger than that. It had more abilities.
Oh, okay.
It was a cool game. I did enjoy it. Played it a lot with some friends. I think it had good potential, but they totally screwed the pooch on the way they monetized it and did that stuff. But anyway, we're not talking about Evolve.
Give me the Vermintide hot take here.
So I think Vermintide 2 was probably the best success we've gotten because it took what Left 4 Dead did, but it built on it a little bit. So it did the thing where it had your different characters with different abilities. So even though the different characters in Left 4 Dead have super awesome personalities and they interact with each other in funny ways, they are, for gameplay purposes, they are all the same character, like mechanically. They don't do anything different. They all run the same speed. There's no stats. But Vermintide 1 and 2 took that to the next step where you could pick characters that have different personalities and appearances, but also different stats, so it can tailor a little bit more to styles of play. Because even within those characters, I think there's different sub-selections that you can choose from that player. Yeah. So you can pick like the knight character, but you can do like I'm the super protector guy with the shield up knight character, or you can do the I'm gonna bash the hell out of stuff kind of knight guy. And I really like that, and it feels like the next thing that you would do with this kind of game. It had some of those same design choices that Left 4 Dead did. It had like the lighting that would lead you to the next place. It had the really noticeable sound cues for like the specials. I forget what they were called in Vermintide 2. Not infected, obviously.
Yeah, they're just special enemies. And there's a lot of them. Like, there's a lot of different enemies to keep track of in that game.
Yeah, I think there's 8 or 10 or something like that. I don't even know. But you always knew what was coming towards you. And they did the little sound cue thing and the noticeable silhouettes, stuff like that. So I love that they took that. And they did make it more melee focused, which isn't necessarily an evolution. It's more just like a side step. Like, you could make it melee focused or not.
Yeah, I mean, it's a consequence of the setting, too.
Yeah, just being old times in real life, because the Vermintide thing happened in history.
Yeah, that did happen. I can vouch for that. I get what you mean about the class system and the subclasses, really, and how that's it's fun to customize your build. And
he didn't like it though. You didn't like it. I can tell.
Well, no. Hear me out. I did like it, and I like the customization of your builds. You get the items and everything. I will say that the appeal to me, partially with this game though, is that the characters are uniform. Like when I go into a match of Left 4 Dead and I want to play versus with my buds, I know that it comes down to, at the end of the day, who is leveraging the equipment that they have better than the other team. It's not like, oh, fuck me, it's the Ellis grenade launcher build. I can't beat it. It's meta. It's the ultimate pick. Now, there are meta decisions when it comes to, like, the guns, I would say. Or maybe not even, because I think the guns are mostly viable. You can pick and choose which ones you want. But I would say if there was a versus mode with the Vermintide crew and it was that level of customization, I think I would get frustrated not knowing what the fuck's going on. Has this person spent more time, and so do they have better equipment? I just like how pure this game is as an experience. I sound like a elitist with my head up my ass when I say that, but I'll stick with it still.
No. I think you're right.
I like that everyone's on the even playing field.
Yeah, no, I think you're right to a certain degree, and it's probably why there is no versus mode in Vermintide 2, because it probably wouldn't work. I think you're absolutely correct, because you'd never have a level playing field like that. And you mentioned the gear, which I totally forgot. I haven't played Vermintide 2 for like 4 years. I'm a poser.
I was talking about it with a friend, and he's like, how big's the download on that? It's like 90 gigs.
It's huge.
It's
so dumb.
About it. I thought about reinstalling it, and I was like, I'm good.
Yeah, totally valid choice. But yeah, because of the gear thing, you're right. They'd never balance it, because then they'd have to do gear for the specials, and how do you do that? And then they'd have to like matchmake on that, and it'd be a whole nightmare thing. So yeah, you're right. Screw it. We don't have a spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead.
Although, even though we just got done saying how it wouldn't be balanced or it might be messed up, I'd play it. If they said Vermintide 2 versus mode, I'd be in.
I guess they'd probably have to have a base. You know what? They'd probably have to do a baseline gear level for the humans. Like, you wouldn't have all of your stuff. That would just be for the campaign mode.
Oh, okay.
And then you would just have like this starting thing. And maybe you can get some upgrades along the way as you play through that campaign. I bet that's what they would have to do.
Yeah.
Fat Shark, call me. I'm available.
And, I'm going to talk myself out of my own argument here. I'm looking around the room. I see pipe bombs. I see Molotovs. I see puke jars. Sometimes there's melee weapons. There's the different medical items. There's shotguns, sniper rifles, all that stuff. You can argue Left 4 Dead has plenty of variance when it comes to the equipment that you can have. Although I guess with this game, as opposed to Vermintide, if you're playing versus, both sides get access to all that stuff, because I believe the spawns are the same.
They are, yeah.
So, it's something to think about.
Which is interesting for the tank spawn thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, when Left 4 Dead 1 came out, the tank spawns were not the same. In fact, it was possible for one team to get a tank spawn in a level, and the next team to not even get one at all. So that was something that people complained about. So they did match it up, but unfortunately that means that the one team gets the tank spawn, and then the next team knows for sure that there's a tank in this particular location that they're going to get, so they can be a lot more prepared. I think they kind of tried to balance that by I'm going to screw this up. The survivors always go first, right? Or sorry, the leading team in point. Jeez, that was dumb. The leading point team plays survivors first in the level, I believe. Yes. So they won't know if a tank has shown up. That was like the most they could do to try to balance it. But I don't know what else they could do.
Well, and it's weird because so for the first round, both sides are caught off guard by the tank. Like the infected haven't been able to prepare for it, and then obviously the survivors, like they don't know when it's coming. But then round 2, you've got this weird situation where survivors know it's coming, so they can grab the appropriate gear. But now the infected also know it's coming, and are they going to set up like a really nasty attack right as the tank shows up? Like, can they coordinate with the tank now? I don't know which is worse, the survivors knowing that it's coming up, or the zombies knowing that it's coming up.
Yeah, that's a good point. No, that's honestly a great point. So, you know what? It's balanced. It's fine.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's a perfect game. It's the best
I love it.
game
Yeah,
ever.
There's nothing wrong with this game. I don't know why we're playing anything else.
What is like the scariest or worst thing you could run into in this game as a survivor, I'll say? Because as an infected, obviously, getting meleeed midair as a hunter and then having someone shotgun you, pretty awful.
Oh, it's the worst. Yeah, I was going to say, because as an infected, the worst thing you can encounter is a high ping survivor.
Very terrifying.
You're like, no! I can't do anything. Oh, God, that's really tricky. Because early days, I would have said tank. I'm almost still tempted to say it. But sometimes I want to say witch, though. Okay, if you get a witch in an area where you absolutely know that you have to pass through that area, you can't go around her, because she does sometimes spawn in just a key place. And you know that all of the special infected spawns are up. I think that's the worst. Like, you're just like, witch right there. I know all the spawns are here. I hear them coughing and hacking in the room next to me. What do we do? I think that's probably the scariest thing.
Here's one that I just thought of, because I was leaning towards either tank or witch too. But one of the worst feelings I have had in this game is either you're alone, like your teammates are dead, or you've been separated and you can hear a smoker coughing and like creeping up behind you somewhere. Like maybe you even see the trail go around a corner, and you're like, if he gets me, if he grabs me, it's over. Like I'm too far behind. And it doesn't have the finality of like a tank squashing you or the witch immediately downing you, because like the tongue can break, like he can attack and you duck behind something fast enough, and so it has that feeling of like being chased that I find very unnerving.
Ooh, that's a good one, actually. I really do like that one. Oh man, good answer.
Yeah, there's a lot of fucked up stuff or just hearing a hunter screaming and flying above you, and if you don't know where it's at, like it can be pretty fucked up.
You hear the pterodactyl screech in an area that you know is big and open. Yeah.
I actually went to, I can't remember if this is my freshman year in high school or not, but I went to school dressed as a hunter for Halloween. I had the hoodie, I put the duct tape on my on my sweatshirt and pants, had like some red stuff smeared around my mouth. That's me. He's literally me.
You're just cosplaying as a human every day.
Yeah.
How'd that go over? Did other people recognize what you were, or were they like, who's this freak show?
Well, this was back like before Left 4 Dead 2 even came out, I think. So I had to like 5 people got it.
You had to explain yourself in every room you walked into.
It's a video game, and I'm a zombie. Oh, why do you have duct tape on you? Oh, well, it was a zombie that can run and jump fast. I don't know.
He'll lose his hoodie without the duct tape.
Yeah, I don't fucking know why he's got duct tape on him.
That's a good question. Why does he? Is there some like super secret lore there that we've never uncovered? Was he a duct tape aficionado before he turned? Does being into duct tape turn you into a hunter when you get infected?
Yeah, I think that's it. I think that the adhesive reacts to the mutated DNA, and because your DNA is being told there's something sticky here, you need to run and jump away from it, and so you're mutating to get away, but you never can because it's duct taped to you.
Although then there's also when you nail somebody's hitbox when you're jumping into them, you kind of like stick onto them then, and you start tearing their face off. So maybe it's there too, you know?
Yeah. I think we've cracked the code. So dumb. Oh god. So I wanted to shift the focus a little bit to a different zombie game.
Okay.
This is your chance to gush about Flashlight.
Oh, what?
Your very own video game that you're working on.
My game?
Your game.
All right. I will happily do that. So I personally have been working on a top-down 4-player cooperative shooter for 2 or 3 years now? It's funny that I can't remember that off the top of my head. 3 years. We're going with 3 years. It is, we'll say, it's like Left 4 Dead in that they're zombies. I'm doing a terrible job.
No, it's good. You said there's 4 people, also like Left 4 Dead.
Also like Left 4 Dead.
Are there lights? Can we say
there
that's
are
like
lights?
Left 4 Dead?
Actually, there are flashlights.
Oh.
Yeah, so you actually have 4 different mercenary groups that you can choose from. They have different colored flashlights to denote what side they're on, who's the good guy, who's the bad guy. So the different mercenary groups do have little upgrades you can get throughout the course of the game, and that will affect like your gameplay style a little bit. Like one of them specializes in having mutations to themselves. They can regenerate health over time. They can resist burn damage. They can resist poison damage. Another one deals in explosives. They get like more bazooka shots. They get grenades that regenerate in your inventory. They just get free grenades.
Nice.
Yeah. So, like I said, it's top-down. We have actually, one really cool thing that I like about the game is we have procedurally generated levels. So there's a couple parts that are pre-made that you'll see every time you play it, but most of the game, most of the buildings and the layout will be different every time you play it. So some of the buildings end up being kind of maze-like because of the algorithm that we used, but it makes for a pretty cool experience. You can't predict where things are going to be.
Nice.
You don't know where spawns are going to be at. And we also have randomized events that occur, kind of like Left 4 Dead, like the Horde things. We have a couple different flavors. There's some where it is just zombies that come towards you in big hordes, but then we have one where other mercenary groups controlled by computer AI come towards you, so they have their different flashlight color, they have slightly different guns and stuff, and they'll try to take you out. We have one where cloud cover appears in the sky, blots out the sun, so everything gets dark outside. Things are dark inside the buildings always, but then everything gets dark outside, and you have your flashlight to work with and any flares that you can throw out to help you with light. So it makes for some pretty cool experiences.
Is this more of a open world thing? Is this mission based? What does this look like gameplay wise?
Is not open world. It is, I'll say, mission based. It's level based. Really.
Okay.
Yeah, you are moving for the most part left to right in most of the levels, but you can move up and down. Again, it's top down, so you can move north, south, east, west. You'll be given you have a little mini map, and you'll be told go towards these next objective points to unlock these little data modules. Which in the lore of the game, it's like you uncovering more information about the zombie apocalypse and where to go next. So you unlock those, and then you go to the exit of the level. And then there's also some special boss levels where you'll fight like a big baddie, which is super fun. I think there's some neat ideas there. There is some light crafting. You can build barbed wire fences. You can build wooden or metal barriers that have spikes on them zombies will smash into them as they're coming towards you. They have a certain amount of health, so they'll break eventually. You can make turrets, and we got 3 different flavors of turrets. We got a bullet turret, we got a rocket turret, and one that's it is basically a flamethrower. It does this big and flame just shoots out all the sides all at once. It's like an AoE effect.
Oh, okay. That sounds like something I would put right next to myself and then forget about it. And then
yes, and you will too. It will happen.
That rules. I wanted to know, because I know you have been working on it for a while. What has been like the biggest challenge with game development for you? Either with Flashlight or, I don't know if you have any other projects that you've been working on.
This is the only time I've gone outside of my normal work experience. So I learned programming back in college, got my job. I do boring mortgage software stuff. This is the first time I've really tried to employ my skills elsewhere. This is the first super fun hobby project. Yeah. But design challenges they're many and varied when it comes to game design. The hardest one for me is networking. This game wouldn't exist without my friend, my buddy that understands networking way better than I do. Because it was hard for me to wrap my head around all of the things that are happening in a game. They're all happening on your individual machines, but they have to happen in a way that they all sync up properly. And the syncing them up part is, it's such a pain in the ass.
So you mean actual... I thought you meant meeting the right people and making connection. I was like, so he's gonna talk about getting the insider secrets and meeting some bigwigs when it comes to game development. Literal networking. Okay.
Literal networking. The things that make you and me be able to look at each other in this safe room right now.
Lets me talk to the spirit inside the box under my desk.
Yeah.
Okay.
For me, that's the hardest part. I'm always so bad at just doing our specific network code. Fortunately, we do use some stuff that helps us quite a lot. We didn't roll our own network code, but even try to make use of that is, it just blows my mind sometimes. You have to have the bullet. If you shoot the gun, right? Pow.
Right.
That has to come out of the gun on both people's computers. It has to be synced up properly so that exact position comes out on both people's machines at the same time, and it has to allow for latency.
Yeah.
In it, because if it doesn't, then you're going to get wildly varied results on people's machines.
Yeah, Hunt Showdown.
Yes. Shout out to Crytek. So that's always a big challenge for me, but I'm not going to go on about networking. The other, I think, big challenge was getting artificial intelligence to work right. And when I say AI, obviously, I don't mean ChatGPT. I just mean
it's the new hot thing. Put it in the game.
Let's go. Just simple stuff like pathing, decision making, getting that all to work on people's machines. But I love doing it. Like, I've always been interested in robotics and stuff like that, and I always thought it'd be cool to make little AI freaks that run around in a machine and do stuff. So I did work on the AI for the mercenaries that are in the game, and I love watching it happen. Like, when you finally get it to work, it's super cool to see them navigate the terrain properly, to see them dodge away from grenades when you chuck them at them, to see them make like the decisions you want them to make, you know, within reason. But then they have a little bit of variability where you're like, oh, cool, I didn't think they would do that in that particular moment.
They're your little guys. They're your little guys.
The closest I'll ever get to having children, yes.
Like little automatons. That rules, though. I imagine that is very satisfying, watching your little creations run amok. That's awesome.
Yeah, it is. It's my favorite thing. I actually really want to learn more about like horde AI and decision-making trees and stuff like that, but that's for another day. But I've implemented as much as I know into this game.
Okay. What would you say is, and this could be a big question, but like, what's the funnest part of your game? Is it the fighting the hordes? Is it fighting the bosses? Is it fighting the rival like mercenary groups?
I think it's fighting the horde. Well, it's the horde and mercenary combination event that can happen. So sometimes you actually get a bunch of enemy mercs will show up along with the horde, and we have them also fighting each other too. So that they're not just, the enemy mercs aren't just immune to the zombies, like they also interact with them.
Yeah.
So you'll sometimes see them dodging around, chucking grenades at them, making sniper shots at them, and having to deal with them, and then you can roll in behind all of that and try to take it all out. But dealing with the hordes is super fun because of our, like, the turrets that we have, the fact that you can make the barriers and hole up in a space for like a short period of time. And I love watching, we also have these little screamer freaks that you'll hear them like yell off screen, and then they run a lot faster than all the rest of the zombies, and they catch fire when they get close to you. So, and then if they melee bash you, you catch fire yourself. So I love that. I mean, that's inspired by some of the things from Left 4 Dead, you know?
Okay. I was going to say that reminds me of GTFO, the things with, like, the little tentacles that come off of them that, like, alert everybody. But are you saying the Screamer ones don't alert things?
No,
they
don't alert things.
They're just scary little fuckers?
It's just scary, yeah.
Okay.
We don't really have any stealth moments during the game. We initially toyed with the idea of having some stealth moments, like we were sort of having the flashlight only alert zombies if the flashlight landed on them, but we slowly realized that's not what we were going for. We're just going for more of an action, fast-paced game, so they'll pretty much trigger if you're around or if you make any noise, or during the horde events, they just rush toward you. So we don't worry too much about stealth.
We don't do that here, we just shoot.
We shoot.
Nice.
Shoot first, ask questions later.
All right. Well, that's cool. Do we have an estimated release date for Flashlight?
So the state of Flashlight is released. It's been on Steam since I think it was October of 2021.
I'm a fake fan.
It's a fake fan. That's okay. I keep telling you not to play it.
See, that's the thing is
because I'm a weirdo.
I know it's technically out, but yeah, you keep having those messages where you're like, "All right, guys, we're making a lot of progress on Flashlight. You'll be able to play it soon." And I'm like, "All right."
I feel like it's better for me to just be honest here. When it came out, we had one person leaving the team, and we were really inundated with all kinds of other work, like regular work life and other things happening in both of our lives, to me and the other guy that still remains. I think we just wanted to get it out, even though we should have waited. We should have let it percolate a little longer. So we pushed it out, and then a couple months later, both him and I were like, you know what? I think we can make this a lot better. So we took a good, hard look at ourselves, and we're just honest. We were like, you know what? Yeah, we could have done some of this a lot better, and there's still some bugs here that I hate to see. So that's what we're doing. It exists on Steam, but we were like, no, let's make it a lot better. And I think we're 2 or 3 months away from making it happen.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Mostly the reason it hasn't gotten out is because the other guy moved, and he had a baby. So,
dude.
You know,
how selfish
kind of
can you be?
Yeah, I know, right?
What
just
the hell?
Push your family into the basement, work on the game, and come back to them later.
Oh, God.
So that's why things stalled out there.
You're not going to send this to your friend, right? He's not going to hear any of this?
Oh, he'll totally hear it. I mean, he will not be surprised he will not be surprised at anything I say. He'll be like, yep, that's Axey. So Flashlight on Steam. Check it out.
Yeah.
in 2 to 3 months.
Buy it right now. Be a true believer, a real fan. You played it before he told you to play it.
Oh no, I can't handle it.
Yeah. But speaking about the IRL for real life, kind of like Vermintide before, and this is one of those questions I did not send you ahead of time. These are the hidden
surprise
ones. Zombie apocalypse strikes. Let's say it's similar to like Left 4 Dead, almost, or at least similar type of zombies, because obviously the infection thing kind of dictates a lot of this. What do? What's your plan for zombie apocalypse?
Oh no, I always struggle with this one because part of me feels like I would just hunker down and cry in my house until the hordes came for me.
Oh god.
But let's not go with that one. That's not me. That's not the real Axey.
Let's say the plan. Because there can be a difference between the plan and what actually happens.
Okay. Yeah. The plan is how we exist in our own mind palace, right? And then what actually happens is
what's going on in
reality.
My mind palace right now?
I would go immediately to my friend's house. I'm not gonna name his name.
Dox him. Give me the address right now. I need to check the validity of the plan.
I would go to his house because he has some guns.
Okay.
I mean, and I just don't, so there, now everybody can come find me. Free stuff! No, just kidding. So I would go to his place just because he has some guns, and hopefully he could show me how to use them, because I don't know how to use them. But then I think, him and I would jump in his vehicle, and then we would go find our other friends that have way more guns. I know this sounds like not the greatest plan so far, because here's the thing, I don't know what I would do about like stockpiling supplies and stuff like that, you know what I mean? Because I feel like everybody else will be making the run on all of the grocery stores and stuff, but then also people are going to just be dying there because they're all there.
Yeah.
You know what? Okay, I would join him, and we would get out of town. Like, we would go to a farm somewhere. You know, like in season 2 of The Walking Dead?
I've never watched The Walking Dead in my life.
Okay, that's fine. Don't.
I've watched one episode.
Season 2 is very boring. But season 2 is very boring because they go to a farm and they find peace for a little bit of time. I feel like that's what I would do. Try to befriend like some nice farmer and his wife, and we would batten down the hatches, try to build a society there or something. No, not a society. We would try to fortify the place. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I don't have an awesome plan. My plan is terrible, isn't it?
No. I was going to say there's some parallels with my plan. Like, again, it depends on how it would go down. But, like, Emma's family, and hi, Emma, if you're listening to this. Emma's family kind of, like, lives out pretty isolated in the countryside. And so if we can make the journey there, like, basically any, like, societal collapse, like, bad shit happening, we've talked about, like, we'd probably hightail it out there. Very, very isolated. Otherwise, I know this is a really boring, lame answer, but in almost every fictional setting with the undead or whatever, I'm always like, how the fuck did everyone get infected? Like, these are slow, shambling monsters. Obviously, the Left 4 Dead ones, when they're aggroed, they, like, sprint at you, and there's also the matter of the infection spreading not just via direct contact, but is it in the water, is it in the air? But if it's just like your stereotypical like slow zombies, probably just gonna hunker down and wait for the government to fucking kill everything, or local volunteer groups. I might just sign on and be like, yeah, I could probably kill a zombie if it's really slow. Why not?
Yeah, same. I wouldn't be afraid of the slow moving ones very much either, I think, but if they were the Left 4 Dead / rage zombies.
Oh god,
I don't know how to shoot that well. So
yeah, get out of population centers. Like, you get out of there. And that's another thing, like traffic jams in World War Z. I've only read the book. I don't know if I've watched enough of the movie. But like,
as far as I understand, the movie is just totally different. It has really nothing to do with the book.
Yeah, but just the idea of getting stuck in a traffic jam and now you're surrounded by zombies and there's just no way out, like, that freaks me out. I think that's my worst zombie scenario I can conjure in my head.
So maybe get on a bicycle to escape the city or something.
Put on my hot pants, get on the bicycle, maybe get some rollerblades. Dude, unironically, I think you're onto something though. Bicycle, rollerblades, something where you can just zip around, don't have to rely on fuel.
Yeah, can you imagine that bike lane is just going to get so much use? All those people stuck in traffic, just see bicycles just blasting past them. Bye, suckers! You laughed when we got this silly little helmet. Who's laughing now?
Yeah, until I hit a fucking pothole that's like 3 feet deep, and then I go flying. Oh, God.
That's what the helmet's for. And it'll protect you from zombies eating your brains.
Yeah, they'll exclusively be trying to bite me on my head, and I'll be able to escape unscathed. Oh, God.
This is the perfect plan. We just came up with a way better plan than anyone else has ever had.
Yeah, no one has ever thought about using bicycles in the zombie apocalypse.
No.
I'm sure, dude, I bet, like, so many... Like, you'd have to try so hard to come up with a zombie survival plan that is unique.
Oh, I agree. Because all the best ones are kind of boring because they're the lower risk ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the exciting plans are the stupid, dangerous ones.
Yeah, like, realistically, hide indoors, ration your food, and the zombies will, like, slowly atrophy away because they're not eating actual food. And then you just... you can go outside in 3 days when they're all weakened.
Yeah. Oh, wait. No, you know what? I have an alternative one.
What's the alternative one?
So, instead of the breaking down and crying in my house, I cover myself in duct tape, and I wait to turn into a hunter.
He's joining the other team!
I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be a hunter. I'm going to... 25 points coming at your face.
Yeah, you know what? I'll pick up a dumbbell right as I get bit, and I'll turn into a tank.
Yeah. Just start pumping iron at the gym.
I don't want to be a boomer. I want to be a tank. I don't want to be a spitter. I want to be a tank. I just go through the whole spell. I don't want to be a witch. I want to be a tank. Every rep. I have the penultimate question. Axie. I think I'm using that term correctly. The penultimate.
So you have 2 more questions.
Yeah, that's a fancy way of... I'm trying to sound fancy, but really, I have 2 more for you.
I love it.
So, do you feel like sparing my life in Hunt Showdown was kind of like a Faustian bargain? Like, do you think it was worth it, sparing my life?
Absolutely it was. I mean, listen, I could have never predicted that I'd be talking to you today on this podcast about Left 4 Dead. You know, imagine if I had just murked you there. Imagine if I, like you pointed out once, imagine if I was a good Hunt player. We would have never had this experience. Like, so sometimes being terrible at video games is the best path forward. You will meet new and exciting friends.
For context, we met when I was doing a Hunt Showdown pacifist run where I didn't have any weapons and I was just talking to people in-game to, like, get bounties and stuff. And Axie and his team were shooting at me for quite a while before I could get in talking range. And then we became friends after he forced me to follow him on Twitch.
Yeah, and my audio was not set up properly. So in Hunt, if you have your audio devices or your sources set up wrong, you won't hear those other people talk, even if you're hearing the game audio properly, which is really fucking weird. I wish they'd fix that. Come on, Crytek. But so I couldn't actually hear Professor Jam say anything, even when I got close enough. My squad mate, fortunately his was working, and he's like, this guy's screaming, he keeps saying I'm friendly, I only have a med kit, and I was like, what?
It was such an ominous encounter too, because I can still remember like seeing you guys in tower, or like one of you was in a tower, and I was like, shit, I need to like avoid that guy and skirt through this cornfield so I can get close enough. But it's funny how that all turned out.
It really is, because yeah, like you said, wouldn't have been here, or maybe I said it. I guess I said it. I wouldn't be here doing this podcast with you. So yeah, things can turn out very differently.
Yeah, and it's been a pleasure gaming with you, talking with you about different things, dumb little nerd topics. So I'm glad you didn't shoot me in the head too, Axie. I appreciate it.
Would you say that was the most successful pacifist run you've ever had?
In terms of what I've gained, a friend, yes, easily.
Excellent. Yeah. All right, we did it.
Monetarily, probably not. But I'm pretty sure there were some teams that were like, yeah, let's get both bounties for you. I'm like, fuck yeah. All right. But none of them ended up on the podcast. So
sucks to be them.
The ultimate question.
Oh, no.
The real one. Do you know what it is?
you want me to say the line?
Can you say the line, Axey? Wait, no!
That's not it?
No, I'm wrong. You need to plug your online presence. Do you have anything you want to plug or shout out before you go? I'm cutting all that out.
Okay. Yes. Check out Flashlight on Steam. Check out on Twitch, AxeyMcAxeStuff at Twitch TV. And I think that's it. Nothing else to shout out.
All right, now say the line.
NP, see you later.
He said the line.
I said the line.